There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching a fever pitch, and it's bringing me out the dark. Finally, I can see you crystal clear. Go ahead and sell me out, and I'll lay your sheep bare. The scars of your love, they leave me breathless. I can't help feeling we could have it all. Rolling in the deep, you had my heart inside of your hand, and you played it, you played it, you played it, you played it to the beat. Hello everyone, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to sing. No, actually that's not it. Sorry for my terrible singing. Actually, in today's video I'm going to show you how to speak English more naturally. You know, I personally got 8.5 in IELTS speaking, and to be honest, singing helps me a lot in this process. I mean, it helps me to know exactly how a word is pronounced, and songs gave me a huge number of useful and, you know, academic, uncommon vocabulary to use in my IELTS speaking. But singing is just one piece of the puzzle. You have to know a lot of other things in order to be successful in the IELTS speaking, and got 8.5 just like me. And okay, so basically in today's video, in today's episode of 5 minutes about IELTS, I'm going to show you how to speak English more naturally, more beautifully, more poetically, more rhythmically, and more fluently. So welcome, 5 minutes about IELTS. Okay, so before you can even speak naturally in English, I think first of all you need to pay attention to the pronunciation first. It just bugs me whenever people say a word but they don't even bother to check the dictionary to know exactly how the word is pronounced. Like the word vehicle, a lot of people say vehicle or something. Come on, vehicle, the H letter is silent. And also like purchase. A lot of people say purchase, but actually it's pronounced purchase. That is a very common mistake. Not only do you need to pay attention to how a word is pronounced, you also need to pay attention to the main stress of the word. Like, I don't say purchase, I say purchase, because the stress is on the first syllable. You remember the spell from Harry Potter? Wingardium Leviosa. You need to pronounce it like Hermione. Wingardium Leviosa. Otherwise the spell doesn't work. Yeah, I know, I'm a Potterhead. But more importantly, in order to speak like a native speaker, you need to know this: the basic intonation pattern in English. So what is intonation, you might ask? Well, intonation is basically just how your voice goes up or goes down by the end of your sentence. There are numerous types of intonation patterns in English speaking, but in this video I'm just going to give you the 3 basic but extremely incredibly useful intonation patterns. And the first intonation pattern is the falling intonation. Okay, I'm going to give you an example. Question: how did you come here today? Well, I came here today with my motorcycle. I use my motorcycle for basically every transportation need in my daily life, like going to work. So you see, my voice always falls by the end of my sentences when I am just saying something general or stating some facts about myself, right? The second type of intonation in English speaking is the rising intonation. In contrast to the falling intonation, the rising intonation describes how the voice rises by the end of the sentence. So this is very common when you ask a question, especially the yes-no question, like, do you like it? Or do you want us to see a movie sometime? But I guess you do not really need this kinds of intonation, right? Because in the IELTS speaking, you are the one who got asked the question. So let's move on. The third type, and this one is like super crucial, is a rising and falling intonation. Here goes one example. There are 4 people in my family: my mom, my dad, my sister, and me. So you see, my voice rises by the word mom, dad, sister, and then falls by the word me. This is called the rising and the falling intonation. I personally just love using this kind of intonation pattern because it helps my speech have some sort of Rhythm. There are so many uses for this intonation pattern. First of all, that is when you are listing things, as in my previous example. Another example for you. Question. What do you like to do in your free time? Well, in my leisure time, I enjoy doing a lot of things like reading books, playing guitar, or just browsing Facebook. So when you are listing a number of items, you need to go through the list and like that raise your voice like that throughout the list and then falls by the last item. Secondly, you can also use a rising and falling intonation when you are not finished speaking. I use this like all the time in my IELTS speaking because, you know, when you are asked a random question totally unprepared, you will mostly hesitate, right? So your voice will rise. Let's just give an example. Question. Is the weather in your country generally good or bad? Well, okay, I'm still thinking, so my voice will rise. Well, I think this question, the answer kind of varies among people. I'm still thinking because everyone has their own opinion, still thinking. But from my perspective, I'm not finished. From my perspective, I think the weather in Vietnam is generally very nice. Not too hot or not too cold. You see, when I have not finished speaking, my voice will rise, and then falls by the end of my speech. Alright, let's sum it up. In today's video, I have shown you three main types of intonation. That is the falling intonation, the rising intonation, and the falling-rising combination. But I have always told my students this. In order to be better in IELTS speaking, besides knowing these kind of intonation, you need to know a lot of other things. You need to look up to the native speakers eventually. You need to imitate the way they speak anything, try to copy their intonation patterns. First of all, by watching the US TV shows and movies. The second way is that you can sing along with those songs that you love in English, right? But eventually, I think it comes down to the matter of determination. Are you determined enough to speak better to speak English better? I know a lot of Vietnamese people, especially my students, do not dare to speak English with intonation because they are afraid of being laughed at. If you truly want to be better in English speaking, you need to let go of your insecurity. You need to be brave, you need to be confident, even though you may not feel like it, because speaking English requires your confidence. You need to speak with intonation, you need to apply these three kinds of basic intonation right now in your daily life and in the test. Because that is the only way for you to get better. Okay guys, that is the end of the third episode of 5 Minutes About IELTS with a focus on intonation. Please comment down below if you have any recommendations or suggestions for me for the next episode, and I will see you next time. See ya.